Today I'm here with Rasmus Weissfeld. I'm working from work. He has been working on my company. He previously has um, developed his own enterprise, and now he has been moving on. I know him for a couple of years, and I would like to discuss today, or I want to talk today about, how does it feel to be in his position and what it took him to get there. So for other people and also to myself, we have a good picture of what it's like to be working on his position and
Yeah.
what did it take. Good morning.
Good morning, Antonio. Good to see you.
Hi. So just want to maybe you can tell us first a very quick, not bio, but tell us a little bit what your role, and then maybe you can tell us what do you like it, what do you like the less, what kind of things do you think takes more of your day?
Okay. So I started with TraceLink in October 2021. And I guess the first 9 months I was hunting and I was farming. And then at some point the company decided for strategic reasons to split up the sales team in hunters and in farmers. And I like both, but I had to choose, so I chose to be a farmer. So I have about 40 accounts that I'm managing, that I'm staying in close contact with, that I'm upselling, that I'm selling new modules to. And yeah, so that's the description of the role from a very high perspective. I think at TraceLink, a lot of what you do in my position is I feel like I'm the director of an orchestra, and I'm saying less drums, more violin. So basically, I kind of see myself as being a company owner. Like I have a company inside TraceLink. So TraceLink is the big triangle, but I have a little triangle inside the big triangle, and I have access to, I have great products that I can sell, really fantastic products. I have access to good resources, solution consultants, support, professional services. And then basically my job is to facilitate, my job is to make the buying process easier for my customers. And of course, to sell them products that that might not be a must-have, but more a nice-to-have, like AVM or SPI, or we have some new products now, supply chain work management, there's Mint, product availability intelligence. So that's kind of the role, is to really juggle 100 balls in the air at the same time.
Good. You have described your role here. You have been having a quite wider background. Would you like to tell us a little bit more about what is professionally Rasmus, not only in TraceLink but outside?
Sure. So I studied history of ideas, which is basically philosophy, but with a historic, like, all the great ideas that help shape the world, so to speak. I don't think that had a direct influence on the type of job I started doing, but I've been in sales for many years, for 23 years. So I'm not a spring chicken anymore, Antonio. I started working back before the bubble burst, back in 2000. I started working for a web hosting company, selling shared hosting solutions and dedicated servers and domain names and all those things. So this was the early days of the internet, and we got closed down after 1 year because basically someone yelled the emperor is naked, and the entire the internet bubble popped. and the dot-com bubble and the American headquarter kind of panicked and closed down the EMEA office. And then I moved to a company called CompuWare. So I was there for 4 years, selling software to software developers. You can look at it like it was like debugging and performance profiling tools for software development for .NET and for C++ and Java and those types of software languages. And then I moved to WebEx, where I was selling online collaboration, an online collaboration tool. Then I moved to Spain and I worked as a sales director for an electronic voting company for 4 years, selling into governments. I had 15 countries that I was responsible for, and my job was basically to first of all, convince 15 different governments that they should implement an electronic voting system for their elections, and then 2, influence the tender requirements, because at that level you always need to, there's always going to be a public tender. And after that was a very exciting job. I got to travel a lot. After that, I started my own company with a good friend of mine, where we were working with universities around the world and helping them recruit new international students through these student recruitment webinars, where we would put a university or a business school in front of a fairly large audience of potential students that maybe were interested in studying at that university. So that obviously I learned a lot from running my own company for 10 years. Then COVID happened and we decided to close it down. Basically from one day to the other, all of our customers stopped spending money with us. So that was a bit of a problem. And then, eventually I found my way to TraceLink. And I would say that I'm definitely using everything I've learned from all my experience in these different companies and maybe especially running my own company. Those are skills that I'm definitely applying in my current position here at TraceLink, because at TraceLink, it's very important that you are a self-starter. You really need to build up personal relationships with your colleagues. You need to know who to reach out to when you need something, because TraceLink is still not a, in a larger company like a Salesforce or whatever, Oracle or Microsoft, things are a little bit more streamlined. There's probably some more processes in place. At TraceLink, you really need to think on your feet, and you need to know how to navigate TraceLink internally. I would put it that way.
Right.
So yeah.
Good. No, that's really good summary. Thank you for that. And that's an impressive career. I can think, owning your own company has to be really interesting venture, but also trying to persuade 15 countries to implement electronic voting.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That was very challenging, because it was basically, I came from WebEx, where I was sitting on the phone, I was selling, we had a big marketing machine behind us that would, help us generate leads, and then moving to another country and starting to work for a Catalan company, and which was a lot smaller. And basically just, okay, make it happen, and the sales cycles were so long. So it took a year before I closed my first project.
Wow.
And I think I was very successful. I closed a 1.5 million euro deal with Norway, because the country of Norway was going to let 3 municipalities use an internet-based voting system, so a remote voting system for the municipal elections. It was a trial, but it took a long time. I mean, I went to Oslo 10, 12 times in 1 year just to get it done. The tender process was incredibly complex, and so I would say I learned a lot. I really learned how to make stuff happen by myself, and how to not sit around and wait for someone else to point me in the right direction, but really create something by myself. So that was I've definitely a lot of what I do at Tracelink is definitely something I learned in that position where I was for 4 years.
Right. Now the next question I'm going to ask is, what did you like most? Is on your current role, but also you can mention things that you liked in previous roles as well.
Sure. I think at Tracelink, what I really like is it is sometimes a little bit chaotic. That because I'm quite a self-starter, the role fits me very well. Not everything is laid out. There's sometimes it's what I like, and it's also what I don't like, right? Because I think at Tracelink there are a number of things we can improve in terms of clearly defined processes. That and the processes that are in place now, I think they can be optimized. But it's also exciting because you're not working for a massive company where you're just a small number, in a big a small wheel in a big machine. You're working for, there's a certain level of intimacy at Tracelink where you really have direct access to the CEO and founder Shabir. I mean, I had an online meeting with him yesterday. He makes himself available. That's unique. And if you work for a Microsoft or Salesforce or something, that's you're so far removed from the decision layer that I think you can get lost in that, or it becomes just a job. I would say that here at Tracelink, it's really, I feel very passionate about what I do. I find it very interesting. I'm solving a lot of problems all the time. There's problems that I need to solve. I need to find someone that can help me solve them. And I didn't have a background in pharma or in supply chain, so needless to say, I'm learning a lot in this position. I think I do it quite well. I'm pleased with my own performance, but I also know that there's still a lot to learn. I like that there's some traveling, and at the same time, it's not too much traveling. So I try to bundle my meetings together so that I don't necessarily have to go out every week, but maybe I can go out every second week and then just meet a larger number of companies when I go out. I love my colleagues. I think everyone is in the EMEA team. We have a fantastic team spirit. We help each other, and that's not always typical for, at least for a sales department. Salespeople tend to be lonely wolves that first and foremost think about themselves. So there can be, in a typical sales team, there can be, some elbows with razor blades on them. But I think in the EMEA sales team, I think we're very, very good at helping each other and supporting each other. So I think that if I had to summarize what I like, I think I like that I have enough freedom. Like I'm basically, I feel like no one really is on me about how I do it, as long as I do it, right? My job is to generate ARR, and as long as I do that, I'm not. No one is micromanaging me. Now, if I wasn't generating ARR, obviously, then someone would micromanage me, and then that would be a problem. But that's not the case here. As long as you do your job well, it's not so important actually how you get from A to B, as long as you get from A to B.
Right. And what do you like the most, not only of being in Tracelink, but about the role that you have also?
Well, I mean,
What
I
is
think that's okay. So I love the psychology of selling. So the sales process at Tracelink can be a little complicated. In order for your customer to to commit to buying a certain module or one of our products, they need to go through some internal processes to get that done. It's my job to facilitate them. There's also on the TraceLink side, there's some things that need to happen in order for to move things down through the sales funnel. There are lots of bits and pieces that need to, it's a puzzle and it all kind of has to fit together, right? You need to make sure that we get the SOW done, that we don't charge too much. You need to make, there might be some legal documents that need to be prepared by our wonderful legal department. I like that there's a lot of stuff, there are a lot of balls in the air, and I find that quite interesting. In terms of what I love about the sales process, I mean, I like the psychology of selling. I love negotiating. I think that's probably my favorite part is the negotiation process, right? So the moment a customer starts fishing for a discount, that's when some switch turns inside me, because then I know, okay, we are doing this. Now it's just a matter of agreeing on the details. Yeah, so I just generally like selling. I've always found it interesting and gratifying. And of course, for a salesperson, we live off getting in signed contracts. I also like, for me, obviously the overarching thing is also to help our customers. I mean, our customers are pharmaceutical companies that need to sell their products in a new market, perhaps. And so I also feel that I am a part of something that's kind of important as well, that if we weren't doing what we're doing, then maybe the company wouldn't be able to sell its medicine to the Chinese market or to the US or wherever it might be. I like that I'm primarily focusing on track and trace, but also, of course, also some of the other products that we have. And I think it's an important, it feels important. I'm not just selling some silly piece of software that doesn't really, that might not really be needed, or it's just like a gimmick. What we're selling is we're ensuring that that the medicine that is going through the supply chain is the actual real medicine and not a counterfeit medicine that's made in a factory somewhere. So yeah, I hope that summarized it.
Yeah, I think one of the few key points that you were saying, and this is what you like of the role, right? Would be the psychology of the role of selling, of the psychology. What is behavior, human behavior,
Yes,
negotiation, things like that.
absolutely. Yeah,
And you also
absolutely.
mentioned, yeah,
And just building up relationships with
yeah,
with my accounts, getting to know them better and better and better. And I feel like with my customers, we're, in a way, we're in it together. I'm not there to screw them over or
yeah,
cheat them or anything like that. I'm there to ensure that they can sell, that they can do their jobs. And yeah, so you're in my role. I mean, I'm in contact with people all the time, and I've always found people rather fascinating. So I consider myself a people person. So it gives me energy to be, to be in contact with colleagues and customers, and meeting customers when I go traveling. And yeah, so for me, it's perfect. There are not 2 days that are the same. And at the same time, I feel I'm being granted enough freedom to do my job the way I see fit,
yeah,
within a framework. Of course, it's not, you can not just do whatever you want, but again, as long as I deliver good results, people above me, my boss is happy. And that's another thing that's also important, is that the person you report to is someone you get along with well. And I have I would say, an excellent relationship with my boss. yeah, he gives me the freedom to doesn't micromanage me. He's more like a sparring partner, I would say.
Right. I'm going to move on. So the next part of the question that I would like to say is, would you, I'm not going to say what you like the less on your position, but what I would like to ask you is, if anyone wants to be in a position like yours,
Yeah.
they probably has to have a stomach to deal with some situations. So what I think
Yes.
these key situations that are not easy for everybody, that has to be built in your character.
Yeah. Yeah. So in my position, I'm the middleman between everything. So when there's some type of you know, I'm the middleman between the customer and our legal department. I'm the middleman between the customer and our finance team. I'm the middleman between, as an AE here, you're the glue that ties everything together. And that can sometimes be a little bit frustrating because a part of me feels that my primary job should be to sell, but I do end up spending a lot of time just facilitating things where I think maybe this department could talk directly to the customer and then I could be in copy.
Mm,
So those are some of the processes I find are a little too time consuming for the AE, where we end up spending too much of our time not doing what actually brings in the revenue, right? So I think as a person working for TraceLink, you really have to be ready to be like I said, you're the director of an orchestra, and the orchestra doesn't play if you're not directing them. So that's and in a way that's what makes the job interesting, because there are no 2 days alike. And on the other hand, it can be a little frustrating sometimes because you do end up spending a lot of time on just setting up meetings between this department and your customer, or that department and your customer, or chasing an answer on a question that you maybe asked 2 weeks ago, but that's just a part of I'm sure that if everything was a little bit better streamlined and not always up to me to be the middleman, I'm sure I could probably sell more. But
yeah,
TraceLink is constantly evolving, and compared to when I started, I think things are a lot better now. So I do definitely see that things are improving, and we're constantly trying to optimize and improving the different processes that are in place. So that's good to see. Yeah.
brilliant. Just going to mention also that you mentioned before that it was one thing that you like, and I think maybe it's not for everybody, is juggling that many balls in the air, right? That
Mhm.
uncertainty.
You're multitasking. Like it's definitely a job where you're multitasking a lot. So if you get stressed very easily, it's probably not a good position for you to be in. You have to be able to handle quite a bit of stress, and just having many balls in the air. I think that's the best metaphor I can use. And you never really get to a point where now you don't have anything else on your to-do list. That to-do list just keeps on growing. And then TraceLink maybe has a tendency of also adding a lot to our tasks with trainings, and quite a lot of webinars, internal webinars, which is needed, but it's a balance, and yeah.
Right. I'm going to go to the last question that I have today, which is, in your view, what do you think? Do you think there is anything that was essential for you to get into the position that you are today? Um, and if so, what kind of things do you think makes a difference in a profile for some in a job profiles of a
Yeah,
candidate for someone applying for your position?
I think actually one of the things, so I was interviewing with some other companies before I interviewed with TraceLink, and they did not look at my 10 years of having had my own company as a, I wouldn't say they didn't look at it as a useful experience, but they did not know what to do with it. They were convinced that I would just go in, make a bunch of money, and then go out and start my own company again. And when I started interviewing with TraceLink, it was different. It was like, wow, you've had your own company. That's great. And that's because TraceLink is a little bit not unorganized. It's not, but there's so many things you need to be able to do in order to be a success in my role. And it's just a huge advantage if you've tried to run your own business with, I had 20 people working for me. So there are a lot of things you need to do. So the mentality has to be that you come in and you are running your own company inside TraceLink, which is, a company. And you have great products, you have access to resources, you can go traveling. It's not a position where you sit and then here's a list of 50 companies to call and waiting for someone to tell you what to do. You have to really take charge yourself, and obviously having had your own company is, let's say, proof that you're someone that can take charge, right? So I think people that come from, you could be a good salesperson, but if you come from only very established companies, there's definitely a change of mindset that you need to, you need to go through if you want to be successful at TraceLink, because it's not everything isn't just laid out for you, and you need to figure out what to do. No one is going to really tell you what to do.
Right. All right, so I think that's all the questions that I have. Just want to thank you again for joining today, and I just want to wish you a nice rest of your day.
Thank you very much, Antonio. Have a good day.